Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 6:49 a.m. East Coast time. It is Friday, August 23rd. It's my father's birthday, so hope you are all having a great start to your Friday. We got a 3-game WNBA slate. Disclaimer: this might be the last week that I cover WNBA in terms of videos on YouTube. Similar for baseball, there will still be content, so the projections for every single slate, which are the most helpful thing, will still be every single day on Patreon. It's just a matter of NFL being the busiest time of the year and trying to cover that. So this might be a week from today, the end of August, starting in September. Most likely going to be strictly NFL content in terms of YouTube. Lots of things planned. If you want WNBA content, eat it up for the next week over here. And then on Patreon, you can continue to get it. So make sure to sign up for the final month of the season of the WNBA in September. If you want those projections, you want to continue to kind of have an edge in WNBA. But welcome to the channel if you're new here. We get a lot of new people over the weekend. NFL is booming right now in the preseason. I cannot wait for the regular season. Just crossed 6,400 subscribers. So if you get any value from this video, please hit that subscribe button. Greatly appreciate it. We're going to go through the 3-game slate. Down below, I do have my NFL Daily Fantasy course. If you have any questions, you could ask me on Twitter. I'll be live tonight at 5:30 on this YouTube channel covering the NFL. Stop in if you have any WNBA questions as well. So yes, that is where we're at. Again, projections are linked down below. Some other free strategy guides down below. Follow me on Twitter at Wnba Dfs, and if you get any value, subscribe. Let's get into this video. In terms of injury news right now, lots of question marks. So Elizabeth Williams, she missed the last game with a personal matter. I imagine she will be back. There was no injury. It was just a personal matter. So I have her as probable today against New York. Rachel Bonham is going to be questionable, and this actually matters. She averages 12 minutes a game. This is going to matter for a couple of players out there in Connecticut. Kristi Tolliver is going to be out most likely. Once again, it says unlikely to play in the weekend games. That's going to be huge for a player like Aerial Powers. We'll continue to kind of give bigger minutes to Aerial Powers and some of the other guards out there, especially Natasha Cloud in Washington against Chicago today. And Asia Durr at $4,000 flat is questionable once again. No updates. I'll keep an eye on Twitter. I'll change my projections if anything changes, but right now I have her for 0 minutes. She's been out for a couple weeks, so until I see her on the court or until I get news that she's going to play, I'm not changing the minutes right now. So no major news, just keep an eye on Asia Durr, keep an eye on Rachel Bonham. I imagine Elizabeth Williams is in the lineup, and I imagine Kristi Tolliver is out. So let's get into the target offense sheet. Quick little 3-game slate, not many injuries, luckily. All right, so target offense sheet today. In terms of just the best overall spots, I mean, there's a couple. You're going to get Chicago and Washington playing at an above average pace, well above average, but not even the highest on the slate. I imagine they're going to be implied for a high total. Washington's just dominating this year, averaging like 90 points per game. Chicago's also averaging a lot of points in the mid 80s. So I imagine a lot of points are going to be scored there. That's a very good game to attack, especially because Kristi Tolliver is going to be out for Washington. More minutes to go around, more value. That has still not kind of been identified on DraftKings in terms of pricing players up. And then on Chicago, you still have no Lavender. She's done for the year, most likely. I think she is. So players like Astuna Dor, she's going to continue to be underpriced for the minutes she's playing. Even Shanae Parker, who's probably going to have to take on a bigger role to defend Elena Del Don. Sorry for the people who get all triggered about that. So those players are going to be kind of valuable in a game like this based on their price point, based on their skill set, and the way they'll be used today. New York and Atlanta, so you get a good matchup here for both sides of the ball. Atlanta is dead last against the forward position, so Tina Charles, Amanda Wnba. Wnba came back last game, played around 20 minutes or so, 22 I think. I imagine she gets a little bit of a bump. Tina Charles, that means I imagine she gets a little bit of a bump downward, but again, Charles has just been dominating lately, 53 points fantasy-wise last time, 37 minutes. But if indeed Amanda Wnba goes up to like 25 minutes, I imagine they rear back Charles to like 34. I have her at 34 minutes today. Still a fantastic spot. Atlanta on the flip side gets the best matchup in the league for guards. So Tiffany Hayes is in a fantastic spot today. The rest of the Atlanta guards are kind of all over the place in terms of how many minutes they are getting. You have Renee Montgomery, you have Sykes. All these players are averaging right around 20 minutes. Bentley, 15 minutes in there. Tiffany Hayes is the one that you would want. She's going to be the most expensive, reflected in those stable minutes, and a very good matchup. Only one that I'm interested in. And then Connecticut versus Vegas. I really like Jonquel Jones today. She's going to get extended run against these bigs in Vegas. Vegas's bigs are not anything scary from a defensive end, especially when you take into account how dominant Jonquel Jones is on the offensive side. Now, Elena Del Don is the best play on the slate overall in terms of pure point upside, especially for the price. But Jonquel Jones is probably my second favorite big, and we're going to get into the early interest right now. Again, if you get any value from these videos, please hit the subscribe button. Greatly appreciate it. So here it is, no ranking order. This is just factored by price in terms of my early interests. There are 10 on this list, and those can change, so keep an eye on the projections in case any news changes. So yes, Jonquel Jones against a bottom half of the league defense in Vegas against bigs, and Jonquel Jones should see, instead of her normal 29 to 30 minutes, probably upwards of 32, just due to the fact that there's going to be very big players, whether it's Derica Hamby, Asia Wilson, Liz Cambage, whoever it is out there, there's going to be loads of big players on the court at all times. Jonquil Jones is probably going to get extended run today. Elena Del Don against Chicago. I don't even care what the matchup is, but now that you take Jontel Lavender out there and it's just Janae Parker, it's just Stephanie Dolson, Astu Nador for the most part, going to be guarding Elena Del Don. It's not even a matchup at that point. Del Don, I don't even care if she plays only 24 minutes because this one blows out, which I really don't expect it to totally blow out. But even if it does, she plays 24 minutes, she could still drop 40 plus. Del Don is probably the best play on the slate in terms of being a lock. Tina Charles at 10-4. Again, we already mentioned the matchup is fantastic. Amanda Wnba being back last game didn't impact her too much. I imagine Wnba continues to go up in minutes closer to 25 instead of closer to 20, which will impact Tina Charles most likely a little bit in terms of production and even potentially minutes. But Charles in this matchup is just too good. I would prefer to try and get to all Jones and Deladon and Charles if you can, honestly, today. If you were to leave one out, I'd leave out Charles. Alyssa Thomas at 8,900 if you were not to get the Jonquil Jones. Is also in the same exact very good spot as Jones in terms of going to get more minutes against these bigs in LA or Las Vegas, and it's not a terrible defensive matchup against her. Tiffany Hayes, we talked about it, the best matchup in the league going up against the New York guards, New York guards are the worst at defending the guards of opposing teams. So Tiffany Hayes at 8,500 is very cheap, and she should see around 32 minutes today. Average on the year has been 28, but I'm going to probably see about 30 to 32. Jasmine Thomas at 8,300 against Vegas. Sort of a neutral matchup for the guards here. Jasmine Thomas is playing huge minutes as of late, averaging 30 on the season, 32 as of late. I like that opportunity for the price point. Between Jasmine Thomas and Hayes, I probably prefer Hayes due to the matchup and due to the fact that all the rest of the guards are not ball-dominant guards like a Sykes, like a Renee Montgomery, like a Bentley. Bentley a little bit, but she doesn't play that much on Atlanta and the matchup. Whereas in Jasmine Thomas's case, you still have Courtney Williams out there who is going to take away some of those ball duties and be a little bit more dominant for even more minutes potentially than Thomas today. Ariel Atkins at 7,700 just seems like a lock of a play. Chicago is not the greatest matchup in the world for a guard, but when there is just no Chrissy Tolliver most likely out there and Atkins is going to play 30 plus minutes, you're getting a very cheap player below 8K who's going to play 30 plus minutes at guard and potentially be the ball dominant guard. Amanda Wnba at $7,000. If she plays 25 minutes today, she's already valuable. She's the top 5 value on the slate for me in terms of my model and my projections at only 23 minutes. I think I have her at today, maybe 24. But if she gets those minutes, she's just too good on a point per minute basis in this matchup against Atlanta, dead last in the league. So I would keep an eye on. Everybody's going to be jumping on Tina Charles' previous performances. It's fine to get to Charles, but Wnba would be the sleeper type play in that exact same court that I would like to see. Astu Nador at 6,400, price coming up, balled out last game in a double-double. I imagine continues to see big minutes. I have her at 28 today. She's taking minutes away from Stephanie Dolson because she's playing so good. So I think Janae Parker and Astu Nador would be the bigs to own today. Nador, based on her price point, I would prefer over Parker, but I think Parker gets an extended run close to 24, 25 minutes, which is usually her minute ceiling instead of closer to 20, just due to the fact that Deladon's going to be out there. Now Parker's going to be in real foul trouble with Deladon out there, though, most likely. Shakina Strickland has been seeing stable minutes at 5,500. It's a very good price point against Vegas. I'd much prefer getting to some other guards, but you can't complain about the price point. She's been seeing around 28 minutes or so over the last 2 to 3 weeks. For a player who did not have stable minutes earlier in the year, it seems like she's locked in those stable minutes. So I think getting to her is fine. These are my early interests. That was a target offense sheet. Hopefully it helped. Down below is my NFL Daily Fantasy course. If you are interested, reach out to me on Twitter with any questions or in the comment section. My Twitter is at @SalVetriDFS. It's in the bottom corner somewhere on here. My projections are linked down below. So again, this is probably the last week that I'll be covering WNBA. I'm not going to cover it for the month of September in terms of on YouTube, just because it takes an extra 45 minutes out of my day. Same thing for baseball. NFL is going to be a big priority for me, and I'm sure it's going to be a big priority for the rest of you. That being said, my projections for the WNBA will be updated every single day for the Patreons over there, so nothing really changes for you guys playing as long as you have those projections, so check them out. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great start to your weekend. My name's Sal. You're Nail It. Peace out.